fashion parts and body parts. If they don't have parts you're looking for, they can order within 5 to 10 working days. To top it up, Shuma Auto Parts also supply Maxxis tires and CST tires.
Really? But where are they found?
They are found on Chandram Sonda Road, Cruise Workshop in Lusaka. Call on 0979 192057 and 0960747235. Email shumaautoparts@gmail.com. Shuma Auto Parts for all your genuine vehicle parts.
The happy world of 5FM Radio, your adult contemporary radio station in Zambia, connecting you to the newsmakers and events that make news in the global village.
Good evening. This is the 5FM main news at 18:30 with Judith Mwape. The headlines. President Hakainde Hichilema takes up the position of champion of foundation learning in Africa. City Council lays 30 unclaimed bodies to rest. Nigerian unions protest against slashed energy subsidies. And now the news in detail. President Hakainde Hichilema has taken up the position of champion of foundational learning in Africa at the request of the Association of Development of Education in Africa. This historic decision marks him as the first ever champion of foundational learning on the continent and presents a significant stride towards improving education across the continent. Addressing the media this morning, Education Minister Douglas Siagalima says foundational learning in Africa is confronted with several challenges, such as limited access to education due to poverty, inadequate funding, poor infrastructure, teacher shortages, inadequate teacher training and support, high teacher-pupil ratio, and low quality of education. The minister says these challenges underscore the crucial need for a champion of foundational learning to advocate for addressing them. He says the president will leverage his leadership and foundational learning accomplishments in Zambia to encourage fellow heads of state and government and other stakeholders to dedicate more efforts and investments in improving foundational learning and addressing learning poverty in Africa. Mr. Siagalima has stressed that having President Hichilema as a champion of foundational learning on the continent will therefore help to advocate for policies and programs that support early childhood development and improve the quality of early grade primary education.
So what does it mean to be a champion of foundational learning? The president will leverage his leadership, image, influence, and foundational learning accomplishments in Zambia to encourage fellow heads of state and government and other stakeholders to dedicate more efforts and investments to improving foundational learning and addressing learning poverty in Africa. Having our president as the champion of foundational learning on the continent will therefore help to raise the standard of foundational learning on the continent and beyond, shine the light on foundational learning interventions on the continent that contribute positively to improving learning outcomes at scale.
The Lusaka City Council has buried 30 unclaimed bodies at its Ngwerere Cemetery, bringing closure to a situation that had caused distress at the University Teaching Hospital's mortuary. Assistant Public Relations Manager Nyambe Bulumba says the council had published a notice in the press as required by law, inviting members of the public to claim or identify the bodies within 14 days. Mr. Bulumba says unfortunately no claims were made and the council took the necessary step to conduct a dignified burial in accordance with the Local Government Act No. 2 of 2019 and the Public Health Act Cap 295 of the laws of Zambia. He explains that the unclaimed bodies had been at the UTH mortuary for an extended period, causing an unpleasant atmosphere and congestion. Mr. Bulumba states that the authorities' action has not only brought relief to the mortuary, but also ensured that the deceased individuals are treated with respect and dignity, even in death. He has urged members of the public to always come forward and claim or identify any unclaimed bodies whenever such notices are published in the press.
The unclaimed bodies had been at the University Teaching Hospital mortuary for an extended period, causing an unpleasant atmosphere and congestion. So the action has not only brought relief to the mortuary, but also ensured that the deceased individuals are treated with respect and dignity, even in death. We therefore wish to urge members of the public to ensure that they always come forward and claim or identify any unclaimed bodies whenever such notices are published in the press to avoid similar situations in the future.
The Department of Immigration on 10th May 2024 deported a 58-year-old Tanzanian driver, Shabani Uzigo, after serving a 9-month prison sentence for aiding 4 Somali illegal immigrants. Immigration Public Relations Officer Namatin Shinka says the Isoka Immigration Office arrested him on 26 October 2023 at Moiseni checkpoint, driving a Democratic Republic of Congo-bound Scania truck and trailer carrying 4 undocumented Somali nationals. Mr. Nshinka explains that on 10th November 2023, the Isoka Magistrate Court convicted and sentenced him to pay a fine of 60,000 kwacha or 9 months simple imprisonment. Meanwhile, the Ndola Regional Immigration Office on 10th May 2024 detained a Congolese deportee, Ngoi Nbu, 62, for unlawfully returning to Zambia. He says the suspect was detained after being handed over to the Ndola Regional Immigration Office by police who had apprehended him in Kansenshi for loitering on 9th May 2024.
Investigations later revealed that he had returned to Zambia after being deported on 20th June 2023 via Kasumbaleza border control. He is detained pending prosecution. Further, on 10th May 2024, the Mongo Magistrate Court convicted a 29-year-old former Angolan refugee for failing to appear before the nearest immigration officer on entry. Alberto Jose was handed over to the Mongo Regional Immigration Office by police on 21st April 2024. He was sentenced to pay a fine of 10,000 kwacha or 9 months simple imprisonment.
The National Heritage Conservation Commission, NHCC, has cautioned the general public seeking to visit the Mosotunia Victoria Falls World Heritage Site and all other waters in the country. In a statement, NHCC Acting Information and Public Relations Manager Maxwell Zulu says the Commission has observed with dismay risky social media challenge posts of clients visiting the Victoria Falls person on stone pillars or wooden barricades at the edge of the gorge, unconscious of their fragility. Mr. Zulu says this risky and careless trend is extremely dangerous and could lead to serious injury or death of not only the perpetrators but innocent bystanders. He says the Commission endeavors to make the waterfalls more accessible and appreciated even on social media platforms. However, dangerous compromise the safety, reputation and purpose of the tourism destination. Home Affairs and Internal Security Minister Jack Mwembu has disclosed that all previous passport applications have been processed, printed and produced for individual applicants to collect. In a statement, Mr. Mwembu explains that not too long ago, some members of the general public who submitted application forms for passport acquisition complained of delayed issuance of the passport booklets, and the ministry acknowledged the complaints as genuine. He explains that this was largely attributed to low stock levels of the booklets, which were reserved for emergency cases such as those seeking medical attention abroad, scholarships, and other cases that the passport office viewed exceptional. Mr. Mwimbu says in the quest to deliver high-quality service with efficiency, the ministry ordered a huge number of passport booklets which were received in the month of April. The Ministry of Finance and National Planning of Zambia has announced the launch of a consent solicitation in respect of the Eurobond. The consent solicitation is the next step in Zambia's debt restructuring with the Eurobond holders following the agreement in principle reached by the government of the Republic of Zambia and the Steering Committee on the key commercial terms of a proposed restructuring transaction relating to the government's bonds due 2022, 2024 and 2027. In a statement issued, Secretary to the Treasury Felix Nkulukusa has advised holders of the existing notes to check with any bank, securities brokers or other intermediary through which they hold existing notes when such intermediary would need to receive instructions from a note holder in order for that note holder to be able to participate in the consent solicitation before the deadlines. He says the deadlines set by any such intermediary and the clearing system for the submission of voting instructions and settlement instructions be earlier than the relevant deadlines set out in the press release relating to the consent solicitation attached. Another story is trending this evening. The Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company has embarked on water rationing in Lusaka following the ongoing load management by ZESCO Limited and the impact of the drought. The Non-Governmental Gender Organization Coordinating Council says while there is a notable decline in reported cases of GBV in the first quarter of 2024, as recorded by the Zambia Police Victim Support Unit, there is still more that needs to be done. Up next, the business news.
5FM Radio Business News. We mean business. Keep you current in commerce, trade, and global. It's our business to keep you informed about business.
The Zambia Airports Corporation Limited says the country's aviation industry performance is reflective of the impressive start to 2024, as there was a significant increase in both international and domestic passenger traffic, leading to a recovery of 119% to pre-COVID-19 in the first quarter of the year. Company Communications and Brand Manager Mwembe Sikaulu says the demand for air travel to key business and tourist destinations from Lusaka remains upbeat. She says in the quarter under review, Zambia Airports Corporation Limited served 482,400 general passengers, representing an increase of 20% when compared to the 403,478 passengers recorded in first quarter of 2023. Ms. Sikaulu says the highest recovery rate was at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport at 133% recovery, and the least was at Harry Mwanga Nkumbula International Airport at 71% recovery.
Of 119% to pre-COVID-19 in the first quarter of the year. The overall trend in passenger numbers is promising and definitely optimistic. In the quarter under review, ZACL served 482,400 general passengers. This represents an increase of 20% when compared to just over 400,000 passengers recorded in the first quarter of 2023. The highest recovery rate was at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport with 133% recovery, and the least was at Harry Mwanga Nkumbula International Airport with 71% recovery.
That ends the business news.
FM Radio Business News. We mean business. Keep you carrying in commerce, trade, and industry, local and global. It's our business to keep you informed about business.
And now on foreign news. Labor unions in Nigeria have begun a nationwide protest against withdrawal of subsidies that lowered the price of electricity. Prices for some customers have risen by 240% following the latest measure to cut government spending introduced by President Bola Tinubu. The Nigeria Labour Congress says the hike is unaffordable. Its members have begun picketing the offices of the Nigerian Electricity Regulator and regional distribution companies. Here's a roundup from the BBC.
Heavy fighting is taking place as Russian forces try to capture the northeastern Ukrainian border town of Vovchansk. The town has been heavily bombed. The incursion into the region has increased the threat to Kharkiv, Ukraine's second city, as a further advance could bring it within artillery range. The European Commission has condemned what it called acts of intimidation, threats and physical assaults by Georgian authorities towards protesters. It said any police misconduct must be investigated. The Commission's spokesman on foreign affairs and security is Peter Stano. Last year, Georgia acquired EU candidate status, but the opposition fears progress could be derailed by a foreign funding bill that's almost certain to be approved on Tuesday. A German High Court has upheld a lower court ruling. The Alternative for Germany party is a suspected right-wing extremist organisation. This allows German intelligence to retain its powers to subject the party to surveillance. It applies to the entire AfD.
And finally, in sports news, Arsenal Women FC has confirmed forward Viviane Miedema will leave the club when her contract expires at the end of the season. The club posted on X, formerly Twitter, when announcing her exit. Miedema has scored 125 goals in 172 games since joining the club in 2017, including 13 appearances this season. Another weather report brought to you by Classicon.
Class Econ Roofing Africa.
Class Econ Roofing, plot 17100, Katanga Road, 150 meters from Mumbwa Road, Chinika Industrial Area, Lusaka. Class Econ Roofing. Class plus economy.
Class Econ. Class Econ Roofing Africa. Class Econ.
A moderate and relatively dry airflow from the southeast is influencing over most parts of Zambia, resulting in partly cloudy, windy at times, and warm to hot weather conditions. That ends the weather report.
Class Econ Roofing Africa.
Class Econ Roofing, plot 17100, off Katanga Road, 150 meters from Mumbwa Road, Chinika Industrial Area, Lusaka. Class Econ Roofing. Class plus economy.
Class Econ. Class Econ Roofing Africa. Class Econ.
And that weather report brings us to the end of the news this evening. But before we go, a recap of the top stories. President Hakainde Hichilema takes up the position of champion of foundational learning in Africa. Lusaka City Council lays 30 unclaimed bodies to rest. Nigerian unions protest against slashed energy subsidies. On behalf of the entire news crew and the technical department, Thank you for listening to the Happy World of 5FM. Stay safe and stay tuned to 5FM Radio. I'm Judith Mwape. Good evening.